What is a mind trick you know? Whenever you are negotiating, take long, very long pauses before you ask questions. It makes people vomit the truth. In class, if it's a presentation where someone has to present without looking at notes or anything like that, and while they're up in front of classroom presenting, some people forget what they're talking about, space out, freak out, and lose their train of thought. To counter this, nod your head at the end of each sentence they say, confirming what they're saying. They will somehow use this as a motivator, and 9 times out of 10 will keep presenting without fault. I hypnotized myself into quitting smoking. Every time I had the impulse to light up, I simply told myself, what a strange thing for a non-smoker to think. Eventually I convinced myself that the cravings were anomalous and could safely be ignored. I was at the front row of a concert and needed to get out mid-show. No one was letting me by. I decided to fake like I was about to throw up. The crowd parted for me like I was Moses. Worked all the way through the crowd. Not one person stood in my way for more than a second. When I got out, I just walked normally. The door-in-the-face technique. The general idea is that you ask someone for a huge favor, which you're relatively confident they'll say no to. Then you ask them for a small favor. Subjects who initially refuse the huge favor have a much higher compliance rate on the small favor than if you just ask directly for the small favor, or if you present both at once. If they end up saying yes to the huge favor, that's also good. If you're trying to find something, try looking right to left as opposed to left to right. Your eyes tend to skim over things if you search in the direction you are used to reading in, so skim the opposite way. It takes me a bit more effort to do this, but I notice more details. If I need to remember to do anything at all the next day, I will put something in my room, out of place. This works every time. Say for example, I really want to remember to email my professor before leaving for class. I will put a movie on the floor. I will initially think, why is that alright, email Ernie? A key technique for me. If you ask a question, and receive only a partial answer, respond with polite silence. Simply wait. A more complete answer will usually follow. This works wonders in face-to-face conversation. Just look at them and wait. Many people can stand the void and will fill it with more information. When trying to convince somebody to do something, offer them 2 options, either of which is okay with you. Humans have a hard time selecting outside of the given options. Example, so, did you want me to pick you up at 7 o'clock or 7:30? Did you want me to pick up the $50 one or the $35 one? Etc. There's something in sales called the Sullivan nod. Basically, when you're asking someone something, nod up and down while you're asking. Their mirror neurons start firing and they begin nodding and agreeing with you subconsciously. 60% of the time it works every time. If you have to exert authority, act as though your orders would never be questioned, and you'll be fine. If you have to throw someone out of a place, just keep advancing on them until they're out the door. When trying to get away with something sketchy, not illegal per se, but frowned upon, walk into the place like you own it. Don't glance around, don't even stop for a second or look confused. 9 times out of 10 nobody will question you. You can get away with lots of things that way. In a job interview, or tense first meeting, don't cover up your chest, just don't, and imagine that the stranger is someone you know really well, and after practicing this a few times, you will be able to hotwire people into instant rapport. Works 90% of the time. I discovered this one from my mother, actually. If you're out and about and come across hooligans or other ne'er-do-wells, that might be up to something, such as smashing things up, who might well become confrontational, you need to approach them and ask for a light, or the time. As you walk up, they'll be ready for a fight. When they realize that you, as a sole person, has approached them as a group and asked something innocuous and unrelated to their activities, they will very likely give you the time light that you asked for, then shuffle off with a bemused feeling. I'm not advocating that you should go out and try it, but only if you might have to pass by an incident going on where they notice you, and you don't want any trouble. Of the 3 times in my life that I have been in this situation, it has always worked. If any of you have the opportunity, take a social psychology class. It's filled with this kind of stuff, most of which has actual practical application. One of the most fascinating things I came across in the class was about reflected body language. For example, if you believe you have a red dot on your head and you're sitting one-on-one with another person talking, you will probably think that they are acting uncomfortable because of the dot. But in this study, their eye has no dot, and the person is acting that way simply because you're acting that way, all because you believe you have a red dot on your head. The implications of our subtle and usually unconscious body language are huge, and 99% of the time we are completely unaware of it. If you want to make a good first impression, you should make eye contact and copy the other person's actions. For example, if you see the other person fold her arms, then do it also. Just don't be obvious about it. After a while, the person will feel more comfortable around you. You can then try doing something like fixing your glasses or hair or touching your ear, and see if the other person does the same. Then you know you are in, and the person is copying you without knowing it. That means she likes you. Don't know if it counts, but in managing and sales we're taught to use specific wording. If I want a customer to go get 2 more movies to get the sale discount, and we commission, we say, why don't you go grab 2 more? Instead of, do you want to grab 2 more? The difference between it being an open-ended and a yes-no question is money in my pocket. If someone is intent on fighting you, I mean, physically ready to knock your teeth in, try the following. Start off by calmly removing your shirt. Make it seem like you're preparing for the fight of your life. But don't stop there. Keep removing other articles of clothing. Don't laugh or smile, and with any luck they'll be gone before you're completely nude. 1. Look me in the eyes. Do not break my gaze. 2. Tell me what you had for lunch 3 days ago. The person probably can't remember. It's a lot harder to access that memory without moving the eyes. If you have to hold eye contact to someone, for example while listening to a long speech, which you find hard to focus on, or during a last one to laugh game, look at the opposite's nose. You don't have actual eye contact, but it seems like, thus you can avoid feelings you may have while staring into someone's eyes. My cheap-ass father taught me this, and it has worked 100% of the time. When bartering at a flea market, garage sale or Craigslist, hand the person the amount in cash you want to pay, then suggest a lower price while the cash is in their hand. Example, me, how much is this? That guy, $20. Me, hands him a folded $10. How about $10? That guy, okay. People just can't bring themselves to give the money back once it is in their hand. They may not want to sell it for less, but once the cash is in their hand they can give it back. When bargaining, it usually doesn't matter whether or not the other person gets a good deal, but whether or not they participated. If you start low and then let them bargain up to what you originally would have offered, they'll probably take it. I heard that if you're with a group of people and everyone starts laughing, you tend to first look at the person you like the most. It's interesting to note where everyone else is looking. This isn't a mind trick, but a biological trick. If you are trying to see something in the dark, don't look directly at it. Either move your eyes back and forth to scan, or look to one side of the object. The reason this works is because your color receptors are in the center of your eye and don't work well in the dark. Your black and white receptors are toward the outer edge. Old trick I use a lot. Ask a question, and then when they reply, just repeat what they say for more information. E.j. Boy, when did you think of that movie? Girl, yeah, I thought it was okay. Boy, you thought it was okay? Girl goes into more detail. You can quite easily drive an opponent insane during an argument by speaking softly in a reasonable tone and refusing to raise my voice or display any outward signs of anger. Sounds simple, but it works so well. He who asks the questions controls the conversation. If you want to find out if someone is telling you something that they previously rehearsed, just ask a random question in the middle of it and let them continue. They'll screw it up, cut it short, or get something wrong because you ruined their train of thought. I was taught this summer that if you're ever asking someone hard questions like interrogations, depositions, or general "did you eat the last cookie" questions, and the person doesn't want to answer, he might say something like "her" or "what" to stall and think of a plausible lie. If instead of repeating your question you just say her back, you answer your question right away, but without the lie because there wasn't enough time to make one up, and it works often enough to be useful. If I'm at a party with loads of people I don't know, I look for the person who is the center of the party. There's one at every party making conversation with everybody, and just walk up to them, say hi, I'm Randaz, and shake their hand. The handshake is so ingrained in Western culture that the person will almost always, unless it's a mensa meeting, shake your hand. Now you're part of the conversation and you can start introducing yourself to other people. This works at any kind of function where you are lone wolfing it and don't know anyone. If someone is angry or rude to you, realize that 1. Anger is a secondary emotion. People only express anger because they are feeling a different underlying emotion such as sadness, frustration, or disappointment. 2. It is their choice to be rude or express anger. They are choosing to be immature. It is your choice whether or not you react. When you are dealing with an angry or rude person, try to interact with them based on the underlying emotions, not the nastiness that lies on the surface. Not really a mind trick, but if you want to find out if someone is lying after a lengthy explanation, ask them to retell their story in reverse order. We only remember our lies chronologically, so slip-ups will happen in reverse. If you were at a packed bar and want to get served quickly, when the barman is looking at who to serve next, indicate the person next to you. 9 times out of 10 he will then serve you afterwards. I have discovered that slightly dated phrases such as pardon and come again are much more effective than their contemporary counterparts like what. In casual conversation, the unusual nature of the phrase forces the listener to engage her brain and think about what you were saying, and it usually results in a more intelligent reply. I learned this from a waitress. If you are walking and carrying a bowl or glass that is full to the brim, don't look at it. A waitress can carry a tray of drinks without spilling any if she just doesn't look at them. Your hand knows what level feels like and keeps correcting for level, but if you also watch it, your eyes and your hand will both send a signal to correct for level, but will not be successful. This one works on the ladies every time. Cute girls know that they will be looked at, so when a semi-attractive guy is in eye shot, they will expect it. Most guys will do the creepy, look over the shoulder technique or scan the crowd and momentarily stop on the girl, but don't. They have seen it a million times. What has worked in the past every time is I don't look at her at all, and then when she leaves I go home and jack off, every time. If you're in fear, being followed, or feel threatened on a subway or bus, act crazy. I've done this a lot of times and it has always worked. Ladies, start picking your nose, talking to yourself, acting like you might just start screaming insanely for no reason at all. Guys, scratch yourself, spit on the floor, talk to yourself in a manner full of obscenities. Talk about that bitch or that asshole and what you're going to do with them. We once scared off a gang late at night in a bad neighborhood of Nick by picking up a toaster and waving it around, yelling, "I'm gonna beat that motherfucker to death when I find him," while pretending like I hadn't seen the group of thugs following us. They just booked. Police, sheriffs, cops have 2 main modes: serve and protect. And I want to put you in jail if you're a woman or a man driving with a woman or women in your car and get pulled over. This generally works. Officer, I'm so glad we found you. We, our women friends, need to find a bathroom right away. Can you tell me, us, where the nearest one is? Done well. You can almost hear the train leave the rails as the cops mode switches to serve and protect. Old psychedelic mind trick. I don't know why it works, but for some strange reason, every time the teacher picks on me to answer a question, I pause for a few seconds before answering. This grabs the entire class's attention, no matter the teacher. Also, if your input is worthy or thoughtful, people will think you're a deep person or some shit. It's useful to appear smart and get others to respect you. When in an argument with someone and they want to listen or ignore you, a bit of reverse psychology actually works pretty damn well. For example, I'll say something like, "Yeah, well, you know what? No, forget it. You want like this," which only makes them angry that I'm telling them what they want like, and then they insist on me telling them, when just seconds ago, they were refusing to listen.